When was the last time you were convicted? When you hear that word, you automatically assume that I'm talking about criminally, something to do with courts or jails. And that's not where I'm going with this at all. What I'm referring to is convicted, like that inner feeling that you did something wrong, you approached something incorrectly, you made a bad action. There was something in your spirit that was just wrong, and that it shouldn't have been done, or you shouldn't do it in the future. When was the last time you really felt that conviction? That's what I want to speak with you all today. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Community Solutions Podcast, the only podcast that is inspiring leadership and humanity within and beyond the workplace. Again, it is so good to be with you again for another week. I am your host, Kim the SME. As always, I am only speaking from my experiences. So let's get into it. Convicted. When was the last time you felt convicted? Have you ever felt convicted? Have you ever been in a position to where you were about to do something, or you did something and said, that wasn't right. That wasn't right. Maybe you even apologized for it. But here's the thing. Have you ever been convicted and conflicted? You know that it's wrong, but maybe did you do it again? Did you ignore that feeling? It's almost like discernment. I would say conviction is like a correction mechanism. It's when you pivot. But we can have that feeling and still decide to go in that wrong direction. Has that ever happened to you? Besides going by my definition, right? I did look it up. And so let me tell you what it says. Okay. Dictionary.com defines convicted as proven or declared guilty of an offense, especially after a legal trial, or impressed with a sense of guilt, a strong persuasion or belief. It's something that you feel on the inside that it's not right. Something is not right about this situation. Conviction is not guilt, though. Again, it is that pivoting point or that correction. This can be felt whether you're in the workplace or whether you're at home with your family and friends. In the workplace, it can be seen as a leader or a person in a managerial role who gives instruction, right? But then realizes that, that instruction was not in alignment with the company's values. Or maybe that instruction was in line with the company's values, but it was not in alignment with their own personal, because we all have different sets of values. You should have your own set of values. And you can be placed in a position to where you are in a position to align with the company's values, but at some instance, at some point, there may be some kind of conflict. Maybe it's your moral conflict, your moral compass. Maybe it's your spiritual compass that, yes, even though it's within the company guidelines, something on the inside of you feels like this isn't right and I cannot proceed. Or this is within the company guidelines. I did it. Now I feel disgusting. I'm disgusted at what I did. I'm disgusted at what I did not speak up for. Even in the frontline employee role, you could be sitting in a meeting and overhear something and not speak up. And then it starts eating away at you because you didn't stand up. You didn't speak up. You knew what was said was wrong, but you didn't say anything. Convicted and conflicted. The great part about it is that we can always turn that wrong into a right. We can always go back and apologize. Not saying it will always be accepted, but we can acknowledge what we've done wrong and try to make amends for it. Try to atone for those actions. we can make a commitment to not take those steps or those actions again in the future. What about being a parent? What about coming home in frustration or anger from whatever's transpired, maybe with your distant relatives or something that happened at work that day? And then you come home and your children ask for some candy. And you're like, "No, there's no candy. Don't ask me about any candy right now." And then you start feeling bad about it, like, "Man, they just told me they had an A. They just wanted some candy. But here I am reacting to something that didn't cause this frustration." They shouldn't be lashed out at because of frustration that you've had somewhere else. It's misplaced anger. And so in that moment, you feel convicted and you can go back and you can say, "I'm sorry. Mommy, Daddy had a bad day at work today." Every time I hear the word convicted recently, it's always about criminals or crime or jail time or just something in that area. But when are we convicting ourselves? When is that being discussed? When do we feel that in ourselves that we've done wrong? We don't need to go out into the world and the world tells us we've done something wrong and here's your punishment. How are we speaking to ourselves? Are we listening to ourselves? Are we listening to our spirit, our inner guide? This is just something I want you to pay attention to and to listen to, because we can correct ourselves before we go out and have to be corrected by somebody else. Have to be told that we did something wrong by someone else. You know what you did wasn't right. You know what you were about to do didn't feel good. Aren't you glad you turned around? Don't you wish you turned around? Don't you wish you would have listened to your inner guide before it escalated, before it went to a whole nother, exponential degree? Convicted. The great part about it is that being conflicted, I would say, is a good thing because we are aware of what's going on. We're paying attention. It is a pausing point. It is a space for us to really self-reflect and become self-aware and to really understand what we're doing and to pause. When we don't pause, when we proceed, that is when we are conflicted. When we know what's right, but we continue to do wrong. When you're on that borderline, that's the conflicting part. But once we stay in that conviction realm, we're in correcting mode. And that's okay. That's a great thing. I'm sure the people around you are appreciative. When was the last time you felt that conviction? It could be a person, it can be an organization, it could be a brand. Because we all know that speaking up or staying silent is as equally punishable as anything. We can be reprimanded either way. By saying, "Oh, no, I can't do that." There's punishment behind that, even though it's within your moral compass. Even if it's based on your principles and your ideals. I was reading an article and it is from Fast Company and it was talking about, so the title of it is How Brands Live Their Values with Authenticity. And it spoke about performative activism. What is performative activism? They define it as a public stances not grounded in the company's identity or history. Basically, when a company says, "Well, we're not going to support this," but that is not within their identity or their history. We do that as individuals. And this article states that vulnerability fuels a destructive cycle we've now seen on repeat. And what is that cycle? I'll go through about what those stages are. The first stage is the spark, and it says a brand takes a stance on a politically charged issue. So something comes up politically. This is the example of a political issue. They take a stand on it, and then they are weaponized. So the opponents reframe it as an existential threat to their values. So whoever is against what that company is standing on, now those individuals or customers are now against that company because they have taken that stance. Then the next stage is mobilization. It says social media and political voices amplify calls for punishment. So that's when they start saying, boycott this company. We're seeing that in today. We've been seeing that. So the company has taken a stance on a political issue. Then they're being weaponized because people are saying they are against that company now for taking that stance. And now social media and the political voices and consumers, I will add, are now mobilizing against that company. Then it escalates. The boycotts or political retribution inflict material damage. We see that right now with Target. We've been seeing that for decades. And then after that is the inflection point. Now these companies are boxed in. The brand must pick its position, either fight, retreat, or silence. They are all costly choices. What are you going to do? Are you going to fight? Are you going to retreat? Or are you going to stay in silence? This article is talking about brands and organizations. I'm talking about you. What are you going to do? What have you been letting slide? What have you been in a cycle of that you know is wrong and needs to be corrected? Maybe it's something you've been doing, but now something's telling you, ooh, I shouldn't do that. Or it's just a new opportunity, something that had never presented itself. But because it's there, now you want in. What are you going to do? I want everyone that's listening to this message right now just to listen to your inner voice. Listen to that inner guide. It is there for a reason. There shouldn't be a debate because in all honesty, you know what it is wrong. You know it's something that you should distance yourself from or that you can speak up about or that you can remove yourself from. When we are convicted, we should not be conflicted. I'm trying to think of the last time I was convicted. Okay. I have been convicted when I was going back and forth with a family member. They were irate, and I'm always in the calming space. I'm really trying to have a conversation. Like what you're saying isn't even making sense. So I'm not in a combative. I'm really never in a combative mode. I'm a Capricorn. So it's like, I'm giving you facts. I'm giving you receipts. What are you really talking about right now? And so they are in a total, what is the word? Like they're emotional wreck. Like they are just like their volume's gotten high and I'm still like, you're being extra right now. You're doing all that because what you're saying isn't making sense, basically. And I felt it coming out and I knew I shouldn't have, but then I cussed, right? I'm not a cusser, but then I cussed. And when I did that, I knew I shouldn't have did it because now it's taking it to a whole nother level. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even feel it, but I wanted to express how much disdain I had for that moment. And it wasn't something at them. It was just why are we even going through this right now type thing. And that's when I felt it. It's like, oh, okay. I shouldn't have did that. I knew I had a feeling before I even said it that I shouldn't have, but I did it anyway. And then afterwards I was like, okay, This didn't help the situation at all. I felt it. I knew it. Before I even said the word, it was like, this is not going to de-escalate the issue. This is not going to de-escalate at all. I was convicted in that moment. I was convicted and I was conflicted because I knew it was wrong, but it happened so fast, right? And I did it anyway. Then afterwards, I was like, okay, I knew I shouldn't have did it. Here we go. And it stayed verbal. It's not like it escalated into anything physical at all, but I'm just explaining to you what was going inside my mind. And again, it happened so quick. But that conviction, it doesn't have to last long. It's a, ooh, don't do that. And you can choose either not to do it or to continue on. So I want us all to just think about ways that we can prevent escalation. We can prevent destruction. And we can listen to that message, that inner guide. Again, I keep saying it, but it is an inner guide. It takes courage. It takes integrity. Like, what are you really standing on? Who are you really? How are you going to listen to someone else and not listen to yourself? How are you going to go by everybody else's rules and principles and regulations and not take heed of your own? That's what I want you to think about. I'm glad I just thought of that. I'm glad it came out the way it did. This is a moment of self-reflection. This is a moment of application. That is the message. I am your host, Kim the SME. As always, I am only speaking from my experiences. I hope you have enjoyed this message. I hope you send it to someone who else can use it, can benefit from it. Together, we can make this world a better place. And correction doesn't have to come from the outside. We have an internal barometer, measurement, however you want to call it, thermostat. We have that on the inside of us. I hope you all use it this week. Comment, subscribe. If you enjoy my content, if you've been listening to me, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Kim Unity Solutions. Follow me on Instagram. Comment, engage, so that way I know what topics you're interested in, what you actually relate to. Like, where is my tribe? Am I speaking on things that you needed to hear? That you have experienced, that you have a different viewpoint on. It's okay to comment with a different viewpoint because we need that engagement. We need to hear all sides. That's what this whole podcast is about. It's about me sharing my experiences, you sharing your experiences, and us together and collectively finding out, okay, what is the best solution? Maybe if I take a piece from yours and a piece from yours and a piece from yours, that's how we create unifying solutions. That's what it's all about. I hope you all have enjoyed this episode again. Until next time, you have been listening to the Kim Unity Solutions podcast. You all be blessed. Bye-bye.